You ended up making the movie you wanted to make.
Very much so, yeah.
Which is rare.
Very, very rare. I waited until I got the right financing, the right people that would allow us to make the movie we wanted to make.
The movie Leonardo DiCaprio was so desperate to make was The Wolf of Wall Street. It's a vibrant and polarizing look at the greed and excess of the bull market of the 1990s.
I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every time.
Especially one charismatic, almost cult-like broker named Jordan Belfort.
I show up in the back of a limo wearing a $2,000 suit and a $40,000 gold watch.
He said that it wasn't really until he started doing those speeches that you sort of got the sense of that rock star quality that he had.
Yeah, they're almost like out of Gladiator or Braveheart. They're like a war cry to your troops, except they're completely twisted and encouraging his soldiers to go out there and screw over as many people as possible.
I want you to deal with your problems by becoming rich.
DiCaprio was intrigued by Belfort's autobiography, an unvarnished tale of drug abuse and abuse of his clients, cheating investors out of millions before going to prison for securities fraud and money laundering. How much time did you actually spend with Jordan Belfort himself?
Many months. Certainly he helped me with a lot of the Quaalude sequences because I had no idea what this stuff was like.
All right, think, what else is there? Yes, I can crawl.
He reenacted a lot of that for me, but...
Did he actually,
Yeah, he crawled around on the floor and showed me what it was like.
I've got it. I can roll.
Did you like him?
You know, he's a likable guy. I think a lot of his actions were deplorable, and he'll admit that. But when somebody's such an open book and is so candid about what they did and unflinching, you have to appreciate that as an actor because there's not many people that really do that.
DiCaprio shopped the movie around for 7 years. No takers. Even director Martin Scorsese was reluctant at first.
Leo was the one who stayed on the project. He would just keep coming around, telling me more about the project.
He was pretty persistent.
Ways. Yes. I said, all right, I'll look at it again. I said, but please, don't let me even read it if there's no possibility of doing the picture the way it should be made.
Why so obsessed?
Because the world that we live in seems to be very surreal sometimes. This incessant need for more is a part of our culture, and I see it all around me. And, you know, in doing this movie, we wanted to put that darker nature of humanity up on screen.
His persistence paid off. His performance has already earned him a Golden Globe.
First and foremost, I have to thank Mr. Martin Scorsese. Thank you for allowing me to stalk you into making this movie.
And he's up for an Oscar.
For Best Performance by an Actor, Leonardo DiCaprio.
His fourth nomination for acting, and one of 5 nominations for the film itself.
On this picture, he is, it's the role of a lifetime, really. I mean, he's just taken it to another level.
Scorsese should know, this is their 5th picture together, and almost all of them have dealt with the darker side of human nature.
An airplane with the ability to fly into the substratosphere.
DiCaprio played the reclusive Howard Hughes in The Aviator.
I got a hell of a cold in here. A hell of a cold, so why don't you just take a seat out there? Because, you know, I don't want to get you sick.
And he portrayed an undercover Irish cop in The Departed.
You accused me once. I put up with it. You accused me twice. I quit.
My parents are from here, and there's really a spontaneity to this city that is amazing.
DiCaprio has an apartment in New York, but his fascination with crime and power, he says, actually goes back to growing up in the not-so-nice part of Hollywood. You talk about there were times when you'd rather just stay at home than go out because it was just safer to stay at home.
Yeah, I had a prostitution ring on my street corner. There were drug addicts in my alleyway. There was I got sort of robbed at 5 years old or something like that.
5 years old?
Yeah. It was a pretty hardcore neighborhood, and I think that gave me a lot of motivation to sort of, I think, be successful really and try to do something else.
Because you wanted out of that environment.
Yeah, I did.
You never went to acting school, though.
Mm-mm. Well, I did, and I went to drama class in junior high and high school, but I never had sort of formal training or anything like that, no.
So where did all...
I grew up in a kind of an artistic household. I was always kind of imitating my dad's friends, and I would imitate everyone around us in the neighborhood. I'd do that, carry that over in school and get into a lot of trouble constantly. Once I found out that people actually got paid for this, I was like, all right.
He started bugging his mom to take him to auditions, while his father helped engender an interest in film.
I remember my father taking me, I believe it was maybe to Midnight Run, and saying, "You want to know what a great actor is? Yeah, you want to watch a great actor, Leonardo?" I go, yeah, sure, he's that guy right there.
That actor was Robert De Niro, as luck would have it, DiCaprio's eventual co-star in his very first film, This Boy's Life.
I know a thing or two about a thing or two. I sure do.
I'd never seen a set that serious before. Watching De Niro prepare and you know, the chances that he would take with each scene, that it wasn't just about reading the dialogue, that it was about, you know, creating something out of thin air.
DiCaprio made an impression on De Niro, too. So much so, De Niro actually told Martin Scorsese to keep an eye on the new up-and-comer.
Normally, Bob, you know, doesn't call me or tell me, call me to talk to me about actors that I should work with. This was sort of out of the blue.
If anyone had any doubt he was different, DiCaprio proved it, playing an intellectually disabled boy in What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Do the siren, okay?
His portrayal earned him his first Oscar nod at just 19. And then everything changed. His boyish face made him a teen heartthrob in Romeo and Juliet.
And Juliet is the sun.
And then came this. Titanic made box office history and made DiCaprio a worldwide sensation.
I'm the king of the world!
I look back at that time and it's hilarious, because the movie comes out and all of a sudden people start seeing it around the world. It's incredibly successful, and people are saying, you know, Leo, this movie is huge. And I'm like, great, cool, isn't that what it's supposed to be? They're like, no, you don't understand. I mean, it's making billions of dollars. I'm like, so that's good, right? Billions of dollars are good. I mean, this is a big movie.
You just didn't get the scale at all.
I didn't understand. I really didn't.
All these ideas in my head.
DiCaprio not only became bankable talent, but the new darling of the paparazzi. You had a lot of fun when you were young.
Sure, of course. I did. I had a lot of fun.
And criticized for it a lot, too.
Yeah, I think that comes with the territory, too, though. I mean, and the sort of microscope that was put on me, certainly after Titanic came out. You know, every activity that I did was sort of in the newspaper, which was, you know, silly, and I tried to avoid, but it was what it was.
Still, for an actor who could do anything he wanted, he chose his roles sparingly. He became a student of film history.
He tells me, did you ever see this film called Solaris by Andrei Tarkovsky? Now here's this kid at 23 or 22 years old talking about Andrei Tarkovsky.
So do you think he's a bit of an old soul?
Maybe. You know, there seems to be a lot of experience there. You're right, an old soul.
Now, at 39, he remains not only one of Hollywood's hottest commodities, but a very eligible bachelor. He's hardly lacking for someone, usually a model, on his arm, but any talk of marriage prompts a nervous drink of water. Do you see that for you?
Sure.
You want that?
I think everybody eventually, not everybody, but I think that, you know, eventually when the time is right, absolutely, yeah.
But does married life seem a little boring to you?
Does it seem boring?
A little sedate?
No, I've seen interesting marriages and I've seen not interesting marriages.
And that's about as far as he'll go. His focus, it seems, has always been career. And for Leonardo DiCaprio, so far, it's all gone just as he hoped.
People talk about what has changed throughout your career. How's your taste changed? What kind of person or actor do you want to become? I knew at 15 years old, like, this is the kind of actor I want to be. These are the type of movies I want to do. And that's it. It's an honor to be able to be a working actor, period. I'm not going to squander this opportunity.
Do you like it up here?
Oh, what's not to like? I love looking down on Los Angeles.
Jane Fonda's view of life from high above Hollywood is pretty good these days. At 74, she can still rock the red carpet. In Cannes last month, she stole the show, something that surprises even her.
Listen, I didn't think I'd live past 30. I mean, no, it's all a surprise to me.
What happened to human interest stories?
She's busier than ever, with movies and TV series in the works.
What in God's name has happened to Newsnight?
Including the upcoming HBO drama, The Newsroom.
I'll fire him, Charlie.
What Fonda calls her third act is turning out to be a very busy one.
All of us, probably you too, were brought up with this view of life like an arc. You're born and you peak at midlife, then you decline into decrepitude. It's a downward slope.
You're over the hill.
Slippery slope. You're over the hill. And I realized, yeah, I'm over the hill, but look at all these other hills that no one told me there were going to be all these hills, and I can climb them.
Here, hold it up high.
Her latest movie opens this week, a role that to some may not seem like too much of a stretch.
You are woman!
Her character, an aging, pot-smoking, one-time flower child, tries to help her uptight lawyer daughter move on after a divorce.
I'm so tired of movies that don't make me feel good. And it's a feel-good movie.
Right on!
It's fitting, perhaps, that the film's title is Peace, Love, and Misunderstanding, because that's a pretty apt description of Jane Fonda's long and varied life.
Show us some more of the apartment. Is this the first apartment that you've had of your very own?
Well, it's the first apartment I've had by myself. Yes, I've been living in an apartment with a roommate.
From her earliest days in the public eye, she seemed to exude confidence. How else do you pull off the role of a voluptuous space traveler in Barbarella, now a cult classic?
Shall I tell you what I would like?
I think I know.
Her first husband, French director Roger Vadim, talked her into the role, she says.
Probably half of all the fan mail I get is Barbarella.
And to this day, it still draws fan mail.
All that Barbarella hair was actually mine.
Was it?
Yeah.
That's all your hair?
Yeah, that ain't no wig.
She went on to win 2 Academy Awards. She was nominated for 5 others. But Jane Fonda says she rarely ever felt she was good enough.
I didn't think I could say no to anything.
Because
I was always just so astonished that anyone asked me to do anything.
Would you mind not doing that?
Her portrayal of a prostitute in Clute earned her first Oscar.
No, thank you.
Men have paid $200 for me, and here you are turning down a freebie.
But she was so convinced that she couldn't pull it off, she told the director to give the part to someone else.
I said to Alan Pakula, Alan, I've been hanging out with hookers for 10 days. I've been to their after-hours clubs. I have been with them when they were with their Johns, and not once did any of those guys try to solicit me. I can't do this. I'm clearly not the type. Hire Faye Dunaway. And he just burst out laughing and kicked me out of the room.
Her self-confidence issues, she says, started early. Her mother, New York socialite Frances Brokaw, committed suicide when Jane was only 12.
Parents are supposed to reflect their children back to them with eyes of love. My mother had duct tape over her eyes because of mental illness.
And being the daughter of legendary screen actor Henry Fonda wasn't easy either. The two had a famously strained relationship.
Dad didn't know how to express emotions. It was a certain generation that you just didn't do that.
When the two appeared together in On Golden Pond,
Norman, I want to talk to you.
It was like a therapy session in front of the cameras.
Maybe you and I should have the kind of relationship that we're supposed to have.
What kind of relationship is that?
Well, you know, like a father and a daughter.
There were things on Golden Pond that you were able to say as a character that you weren't able to say as a daughter?
Right, yeah. And it was very hard for me to do that.
I want to be your friend.
When I said, I want to be your friend, I reached out and I touched his arm, and I saw surprise, I saw anger, I saw tears, and then he ducks his head like that. God forbid he should show emotion.
Katharine Hepburn, who starred opposite Henry Fonda, was just off camera, watching it all unfold.
I looked up and Hepburn was hiding in the bushes, and she raised her fists to me. You can do it. You can do it. And she willed me into the scene. God bless her.
By that time, she'd already made more than 30 films, but she was known for far more than just being an actress.
We shall not be moved.
She remains to this day one of the more controversial faces of the protest movement against the Vietnam War. Her trip to Hanoi in 1972 still sparks outrage among some veterans, largely for this: her sitting on a North Vietnamese anti-aircraft gun, smiling and laughing.
I made a terrible mistake, unwittingly, sitting on that gun. It was a terrible thing.
Because the appearance was that
The appearance was that I was against my country and my soldiers, and, I will go to my grave. That is a regret I will never get over.
Revolution is a process.
Her vocal opposition to the war led to interest in other social issues, with husband number 2, activist Tom Hayden.
Tom Hayden has accomplished more out of office than most professional politicians have accomplished after a lifetime of being in office.
Together, the two traveled the country, promoting everything from solar power to environmental protection. But behind the scenes, Fonda was engaged in another battle: bulimia.
When you began struggling with eating issues, how old were you?
Wow. I had eating addictions from off and on from about age 15 to about 45.
She hid it from everyone, even her husbands, until she started working out.
Are you ready to do the workout? Head to the right.
And we all know what that became.
Left, really stretch it out.
Did you know at the time you were making the first workout videos that they were as groundbreaking as they were? I mean, did you have a sense?
Not a clue. And I was very resistant to it in the beginning because I thought,
You didn't want to do it?
No, I'm an actor. I don't want to make an exercise video. It's going to hurt my career.
5, 6.
It didn't, of course. The workout remains one of the best-selling home videos of all time. But it still wasn't enough to boost her self-image. Her second marriage began to fray, and so did her love of acting.
I have a hard time becoming another character when I'm feeling really, really, really bad about myself.
So she quit the business for 15 years, which was just fine with her third husband, Ted Turner. As she had done before, she molded herself to the men she married, this time becoming a philanthropist on a billionaire's arm. The marriage lasted for 10 years before it, too, ended in divorce. And as she was writing her memoir, she realized what, in part, was missing: acting.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Monster-in-Law marked her return with an over-the-top performance.
So pleased that you're going to be my daughter-in-law. Yeah.
The critics hated the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
But no matter, Fonda loved it. She was re-energized.
Were you a little rusty, or was it like riding a bike?
Oh, it's like riding a bike, totally.
Soon, she was back to writing, too. She finished Primetime last year, and it's pure Fonda, a straight-talking how-to-age manual, detailing everything from planning a will to having sex after 70.
I wanted to write a book where older people would say, nobody's ever said this before.
When we get older, we need a little bit more time to warm up.
She's even got a new series of workout DVDs, designed for people like her who can't quite do what they used to.
I mean, are you proof that exercise works?
Well, if they say that, they'll say, oh, I guess it works. But, I've made no secret of the fact that I've had some plastic surgery. And I have good genes.
She's a mother, now a grandmother, and has found love again, she says. This time with music producer Richard Perry.
Let's go. Right.
She may have had more acts than a variety show, but it's this last act, she says, that's her favorite.
I have managed to overcome my weaknesses and to play on my strengths and to become a happy, peaceful, present person.
He's created some of the most memorable characters in the history of film.
Boring conversation anyway. Luke, we're gonna have company!
Are you suggesting that I killed my wife? Get off my plane.
So Harrison Ford understands a good story.
I remember one time we were playing Superman.
Like the one about the Chicago boy who grows up to be a movie star and goes back to his old stomping grounds with his best boyhood buddy.
I lived here. Bobby was on the second floor over there, and we had this tin can telephone.
You're kidding.
Probably the worst trouble we got in is that somehow the line drooped, and some irate neighbor came here, and
it bent down. And
somehow we got, we were accused of trying to strangle somebody.
Ford's mom was a homemaker. His dad, an advertising executive. Neither Ford nor Bob Blattberg, now a marketing professor, had any idea what life had in store for them when they lived here in the 1940s and 50s.
At first I wanted to be a coal man because I really admired the guy who took this huge pile of coal and put it down in the basement wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow. Then I think I wanted to be a forest ranger, but that was the height of my ambition that I remember.
What did you call him in those days?
Well, his name was Harry, and I was Bobby. Everybody had an IE on their name. My sister was Joni, his brother was Terry.
So who knew that little Harry Ford would blossom into actor Harrison Ford? Or that he would be releasing his 42nd feature film. It's out this Friday.
Figure any dude in a business suit can help me raise venture capital and run the company, but who's going to be half as motivated as a dad who's trying to save his own kids?
Extraordinary Measures is based on a true story in which parents try to find a cure for their children's rare disease.
Zymogen is testing 3 different Pompe drugs.
They're testing 3 because they don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm testing 1 because it's the right one.
The film was made by a division of CBS, with Ford as an executive producer. He plays a cantankerous doctor.
Ourselves. We work around the clock.
I already work around the clock!
Ford says he's heard that line is already taking off.
It's gone viral, whatever that means. It means that people are starting to use it on the street.
People expect a lot from a Harrison Ford film. Is that for you a blessing or a curse?
I hope they do. If that's the case, that makes me feel good about what I've done. It addresses the sense of responsibility I feel to the audience for anything that carries my name.
It was at Ripon College in Wisconsin that Ford says he discovered acting, but wasn't much of a student.
No.
You finished college?
No, they threw me out 4 days before graduation.
So he and his first wife, his college sweetheart, headed for Hollywood.
We literally packed up the Volkswagen with everything we owned and put the cat in there and flipped a coin to decide which way to go.
Flipped a coin?
It came up New York. I said, wait a second. Let's make it 2 out of 3.
Paging Mr. Ellis.
Boy?
In Los Angeles, he worked in TV, did some small film roles.
Bob Ellis?
No, sir. Charles Ellis. Room 607.
Like playing a bellhop in Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round, and worked as a carpenter.
Hey, you're supposed to be the fastest thing in the valley, man, but that can't be your car. It must be your mama's car.
Ford's first memorable role, playing a hot rodder in American Graffiti in 1973.
Come on, boy, let's go. Prove it.
But George Lucas, who directed Graffiti, wasn't going to cast Ford as Han Solo in Star Wars, asking him instead to help audition other actors.
They're gonna follow us, they'll destroy your hidden bases, they'll destroy the whole system.
Right, I know they'll follow, and they'll bring the Death Star too.
And I read with about 300 actors without ever, having had it suggested to me that I might be appropriate for the role that I eventually played.
The planet's totally blown away.
So how'd you get it?
They ran through their options, and there were 2 final choices. And I think Chris Walken would have played the other Han Solo. So thanks a lot, Chris.
Ford says he knew the film would be a hit, but wasn't too keen on the cynical mercenary he played.
Look, I ain't in this for your revolution, and I'm not in it for you, Princess. I expect to be well paid. I'm in it for the money.
I didn't love him. I didn't think, when the 3rd film came, I wanted to kill him.
You wanted him to be killed off by the Ewoks, right?
Hey.
Not necessarily the Ewoks, but I didn't like the Ewoks very much either.
Indiana Jones was another part Ford almost didn't get.
Look, I did what I did. I don't expect you to be happy about it.
Director Steven Spielberg had cast Tom Selleck in the role, but he had a conflict. Ford jumped right in. But when he was supposed to film a long duel using his whip against a sword-wielding bad guy, Ford was suffering from dysentery.
I'm dying here. And I found Steven and I said, look, I got this gun. Why don't we just shoot this son of a bitch? And he said, I was thinking that too.
Ford may be known as an action hero, but he's proud of his work in quieter films too, like Witness, released in 1985. The role of an undercover cop who falls for an Amish woman brought Ford an Academy Award nomination. And let's be frank. You know, for a lot of us who go to Harrison Ford movies, your looks are part of the draw. And yet I've heard that
You should have your eyes examined. I don't see myself as having movie star looks.
You don't? No. What Ford does see as an asset is his Midwest work ethic. After all these years, his focus is still on making a connection with the audience.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, it's a terrible disease.
I want them to believe in the character. I want them to have the opportunity to feel what the character's feeling. I work desperately hard at getting the best I can out of every opportunity and out of myself.
In real life, Ford, now 67, has 4 children from 2 former marriages. And you're engaged to the very engaging Callista Flockhart?
I am. It's a full-time job. And I'm just kidding, honey.
He and Flockhart have raised her son Liam together, juggling their careers. Would you ever do a film with your fiancée?
I would love it, yeah. I think she's one of the most talented actresses working these days. I love her work.
And are you planning to get married soon, or is this just one of those engagements that's a long engagement?
Sure we'll get married. I'm sure we'll get married.
Married or not, Ford, who's listed as one of the top money earners in Hollywood, has no plans to retire. After all, he says his best acting days are not behind him. Do you think now, looking back, that you were a good actor when you played Han Solo?
No.
No?
Short answer, no. Quite dreadful, in fact.
Because?
Because I hadn't had the opportunity to develop the kind of seasoning it takes.
I can't cure your kids, you know that. They're always going to be in wheelchairs, but I think I can save their lives.
Do you feel like you are a good actor now?
Yep. Yep.
It seems a million miles from anywhere.
Life here is about a beautiful sunrise, rolling hills, simple peace and quiet.
This is 1,400 acre
Yeah,
ranch?
because it's all over here.
Wow,
this is just a
that's
front
huge.
garden.
Russell Crowe says he's always thinking about this not-so-little patch of earth as he travels and works around the world. He may be from New Zealand, but this part of Australia is home, and it's not always quiet. Nana Glen is a 7-hour drive north of Sydney. Most important, it's 7,275 miles from Hollywood.
You come here and relax and detach?
Well, this is the island, you know. You come in beyond the gate and you're not a brand name anymore, you know. Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
In the world of brand name movie stars, Russell Crowe is among the biggest.
At my signal, unleash hell.
There's, of course, his Academy Award-winning performance as a Roman general in Gladiator, and nominations for his portrayal of a tormented math genius in A Beautiful Mind.
Find a truly original idea. That's the only way I'll ever distinguish myself.
And as a tobacco industry whistleblower in The Insider.
We are in the nicotine delivery business.
And that's what cigarettes are for.
Delivery device for nicotine.
There's L.A. Confidential, Noah,
I will not fail you.
Les Mis.
Death to each and every traitor.
We counted more than 40 movies in which he's acted. But he invited us to his farm to discuss a very different sort of role, director.
What is it about being a director that is so much more appealing for you than acting?
Well, it's understanding what the art form really is. It's understanding that it's about composition, it's about color, you know, it's about levels of emotion, levels of tension and stuff like that. And it's a very complete, in fact, the most complete artistic experience that I've ever had, because so much is under your control.
His first real commercial directing effort is The Water Diviner.
Your cue is the camera. As the camera passes you, you rise, you rise, you rise. So
A film set to be released in America this coming week, which has already won a number of awards in Australia, where it was the highest-grossing movie of 2014.
You can find water, but you can't even find your own children.
It's the story of a father, played by Crowe, who goes in search of his 3 missing sons who went off to war.
This is your family name.
What is this list?
If this is your son, he was taken prisoner.
In a cattle pen to one side of his farm, Crowe told us if you think the transition from actor to director was difficult, well, it wasn't.
You know, this is the language that I speak. I've been in front of a camera since 1970, you know. Lead roles in feature films for 25 years. I speak this language. I am of this tribe.
The backdrop for The Water Diviner is the Battle of Gallipoli, the invasion of Turkey by British, French, Australian, and New Zealand troops 100 years ago.
Are you a student of history? I was binge watching and thinking, you take on a lot of historical subjects.
Well, there's a balance. There always is a balance, but
if you look at the
look at the opportunity I get, man. I've time traveled. I have walked the streets of Rome, where anything in my perspective that I can see is 100% 184 AD. That's what people are dressed like. That's what it smells like.
Crowe says attention to detail is critical for a director.
You're shooting him, you're shooting him and him.
While filming The Water Diviner, he says if he wasn't careful, he could have shot hundreds of satellite dishes on buildings. Not exactly fitting for 1915 Istanbul. In Sydney, we sat with him as he cheered on his movie at the Film Critics Circle Awards and picked up an honor himself, though he'd wanted the award for Best Director.
Oh, I'm not going to talk about the director because he was an ass. But I managed to get through the day.
Do you, at this point, like directing more than acting?
Oh, substantially, you know. And one of these days I'll actually direct a film that I'm not in.
Why would you put yourself in a film if you'd rather just direct?
Well, here's the simple mathematical equation. If I direct it and I'm in it, I have a budget of X. If I direct it but I'm not in it, I have X minus. So as a director, you want as many assets as you can possibly have.
You can, in essence, get more money for the film if you say, and I'll be in it.
Yeah, bottom line.
Racing around his farm on those ATVs, he let his director instincts show, not only telling cameras where to get the best shots.
So what we'll do now is one of you guys has got to go down and get to the creek bed.
But at one point turning to me and shouting, "Give it some extra gas," before we barreled through a creek. This playful Crowe seemed far from the man once parodied in the animated series South Park.
Oh my God, it's Russell Crowe. Oh my God, it's Russell Crowe. Oh my God.
The star has made plenty of headlines for reasons he'd rather not.
To be totally honest, coming here, I didn't know who I was going to meet from a personality perspective. You read all sorts of things about him.
You do, don't you?
Do you feel that this image of Hollywood's bad boy is overblown? There's truth
Here's
to
the
it?
thing, mate. I'm not from Hollywood. I go there to work, but it's all made up, and I'm sorry to, burst your bubble.
What do you mean?
The whole tough guy thing is, I put makeup on for a living, brother. Come on.
So that's all an
That's
act?
what I do. But it's not an act. It's a perception that somebody writes, and then the next person goes on top of that and goes on top of that. I'm in no way, shape, or form any kind of angry person, But if you do my job and you don't get irritated by certain points of it, right, there's something wrong with you.
Crowe will admit to letting his passions flare when it comes to his love for rugby league, specifically his team, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Souths, based in a rough part of Sydney, had been a perennial loser when he bought the team in 2006. He's helped turn the team around, becoming rugby league champions earlier this year.
For me, taking over South Sydney and inspiring a new generation of South Sydney kids, it's about community penance. It's also come with a massive increase in the value of what the club is, so that's all good too.
It ended up not being a bad business.
No, it's not a bad business decision at all, but it's taken a lot of work, and it's probably cost me a marriage, so that's...
That's what happened?
It took a lot of work, man. It took a lot of work, and I already had an extremely busy schedule.
Crowe married singer-songwriter Danielle Spencer in 2003 in a chapel he built on his farm. The couple has 2 sons, but is now separated.
Well, making a film is my job, and my wife clearly understands what my job is. But to her, I suppose, the football situation was needlessly taking myself away.
But on his farm, we found a Crowe who was relaxed, even reflective, and seemed just as happy to talk about mulching or cutting brush as discussing his career.
This place will fix anything, but you have to let it do the job, and you have to be prepared to become part of the place. So you get up with the sun, you work with the animals, you do all the little jobs that need doing, whether it's fixing a fence or whatever it happens to be, and a period of time will go by, and you'll wake up in the morning and you'll realize that you've actually reached a balance again. And that's what it's become. It's an anchor.
My name's Denzel Washington, Denzel Hayes Washington, Jr.
But to legions of moviegoers, he's simply Denzel.
I, too, am America.
He's played a staggering variety of characters.
We cannot launch our missiles unless both you and I agree.
In some 50 films in 40 years.
You're an African who happens to be in America.
Malcolm X.
We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
A homophobic lawyer.
What happened to your face?
I have AIDS.
Oh.
A jazz trumpeter. And a boxer.
I just do what I do. I don't analyze it. I don't overanalyze it. I don't try not to read about what people think I'm doing. It's not that precious to me. I'm just doing what I know how to do and what I love to do.
And his work has been awarded with 2 Oscars. Best Supporting Actor for his role in Glory as a defiant soldier in the Union Army.
Today's a training day, Officer Hoyt. Show you around, give you a taste of the business, you know?
The other, Best Actor for Training Day,
Keep your mouth shut and your eyes open.
where he played a decorated but deeply corrupt narcotics officer.
You got to decide whether you're a wolf or a sheep.
Denzel!
And in 2016, he received the Golden Globe Cecil B. DeMille Award for Lifetime Achievement. How much more is there left for Denzel Washington?
Man gives the award, God gives the reward. That's what my mother raised me on. So I like awards, as we all want to be loved. You know, you work hard and you want people to appreciate what you do, but that's not what I live for.
His long, successful career has made him a role model to actors, especially African Americans. And his reach extends to the stage, too. He starred on Broadway in Julius Caesar, Checkmates, A Raisin in the Sun, and Fences. For that play, he won a Tony for Best Actor.
Sleepy and tired, but other than that, I feel great.
Now he's starring in Eugene O'Neill's The Iceman Cometh.
I mean, saving you from pipe dreams. I know now, from my own experience, that they're the things that can really poison and ruin a guy's life and keep him from finding any peace.
It's set in 1912, written in 1939. It's about unrealized dreams, betrayal, addiction.
It's comedy. I'm joking.
It's heavy. Washington plays Hickey, a wealthy, larger-than-life salesman who visits a group of drunken, down-on-their-luck barflies.
Bring on the rat poison!
George C. Wolfe is the director.
He is an incredibly skilled actor who uses all his skill set to disappear inside of the characters. I think there are a number of actors who we go to see who are enjoyable and compelling, and you're seeing them play this role and this role and this role, and they don't disappear. I think he surrenders to his characters in an extraordinary way.
Denzel Washington grew up in Mount Vernon, New York, with his mother, Lennis, who managed her own beauty shop, and his father, Denzel Sr., a Pentecostal minister who worked 2 jobs.
He used to sit in the driveway with his foot out of the car, and the door open, listening to the radio. And I used to wonder why he would do that. I think it was, he had just left one boss, and there was another boss waiting for him in the house. So that was the only time he had to be the boss.
Washington says when he was young, his parents, especially his mother, helped prepare him for the challenges he'd face.
I remember when I was a kid and we were in Florida and someone called us niggas. We were like 9 years old, me and my brother. They were spitting all this anger. It wasn't even what they said, but the way they felt. So I went inside and I asked my mother, I said, Mom, why are they talking like that? She said, oh, that's just somebody who's worried about you taking their place. I said, oh, okay.
Washington took his place in Hollywood in the early 1980s, shortly after graduating as a star of Fordham University's theater program in New York.
You're gonna be a heavyweight. You got the chin, you got the guts. But most of all, Bobby, most of all, my blue-eyed friend, most of all, you're white.
Even though he had talent, he says he found few mentors and even fewer opportunities compared to white actors. Nearly 20 years ago, he expressed his frustration to Ed Bradley.
I see how the playing field is laid out, and it's not level. You know, it's not fair. You can still bump your head. You can go but so far.
You think that's because of race?
Ignorance. I don't just say race. Race is the obvious, you know, because as a black man, we can't hide. You know, there are other races that can hide. You can't change this.
Is it any better?
I sat and watched Black Panther. What are they up to, $1 billion something?
Over.
Dollars? Yeah. So that answers that question.
Is that the seminal moment?
No, that's where we are now. I mean, I'm proud, as a father might be, you know. I'm not finished the race, but I feel like I've passed the baton. When you run a relay race, when you hand the baton off, you still run about 20, 30 yards behind the next person. So I'm still running, but I'm enjoying watching this generation take off, take the ball and run with it.
And he's in a position to help. You're a producer, you're a director, you hire people.
Yes.
That's power.
That's opportunity, and you know, the opportunity to give others opportunities. I'm happy about that.
Seeing you carrying all those books around, I figured you for some kind of teacher.
I'm a high-level paid government assassin.
At 63, Washington is about to be seen in the action thriller The Equalizer 2.
Everybody got wise to me. They all said I was.
Until then, each night, he'll stay in the glow of the spotlight.
Just the old dope of honesty is the best policy.
Because that's where Denzel Hayes Washington Jr. says the work really pays off. How do you know when you've done your job?
At the end of the night, you know, when you come out, nobody applauded.
They're running out the door.
Right. A standing and leaving ovation. But you know, you are grateful and humbled. We still all want to be loved. You know, we come out and we bow and thank you, and you mean it.